Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Laura, for passing me over. I'm just going to open up OneNote. Okay, again, welcome everybody, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about OneNote and how wonderful this particular program is. It's part of the Microsoft suite of programs, so for any of you that are already using Word or Excel or PowerPoint, you're going to be very familiar with the ribbon environment in here, okay? So this is very much part of that suite of programs. And I want you to think of OneNote as a little brainstorming, scrapbooking tool that is very, very powerful and very easy to use. And I'm going to touch on bits and pieces of OneNote, but you're going to see that it's very, very powerful considering what you're seeing right off the bat. First and foremost, if you look to the left, there's a little navigation pane that's closed up. I'm going to open it up. And when you do OneNote, it always starts off with something called a personal notebook. So really, considering I call this sort of a scrapbooking, think of it as the ability to have multiple books or binders that you can organize your information in. Now, when you go into OneNote, Microsoft starts you up with a little personal notebook that explains a little bit about OneNote. And I'm just going to go into a little bit of in-depth features today. You can create as many workbooks as you like. Within those workbooks, you can create something called sections. So think of them as little file folders. And within those file folders, you can create pages. And these are the pages to the right. Now, the one wonderful thing about OneNote is it actually saves as you go, so you don't have to save. It saves into any drive you decide to put it in. Usually our default drives are under My Documents, but depending where you are or what your computer saves to, this is where OneNote is going to save its information. Now, if I just go under File for a minute, you can see that we do have a Save As dialog box, and I'm sure most of you have saved in the past. If I do a Save As, you can see you can save in here a page, a section, a notebook. You can save the whole notebook all at once, or part of the notebook, or even just a page. And I'll be showing you how to do that in a little while. The neat thing about saving in OneNote is you can save it either as a OneNote program, even as a PDF, so nobody can change it on you. So let's go back to the Home tab for a minute, okay? When you go in, if you would like to create a brand new notebook, it'll look similar to this, but it will appear on the left side in the navigation pane. You will give it a name, and each notebook will have its own color. It'll always start with one page that you will name. So right now, we're going to create a brand new notebook, okay? So if I say File New, I can decide if I want to create it on the web, and then if you go on the web, obviously you have to have an account on Microsoft Cloud, or on a network where you can actually share these notebooks with your coworkers, or on your own computer. And I'm going to create it on my computer, and I'm going to call this Project Team. And you can see that this notebook is going into my user documents folder called OneNote Notebooks. I'm going to click Create Notebook, and all of a sudden I have a Project Team notebook right to the left. And right now I just have a section called New Section 1. At any time I can rename this section either by right-clicking on New Section 1 and saying Rename, or just clicking right up in the section twice and renaming it here. So I could call this Emails, and then hit Enter, and all of a sudden I have a section. To add another section, you click on the tab next to it, Create New Section. I can call this Notes. So I can continue creating sections across the way, okay? And you can see these sections are appearing to the left on your navigation page. Now each section will have their own color, so if for a minute I stay in that Notes section and look to the right, you notice that it says New Page, and the first page is an Untitled page because I haven't named the page anything yet. The quickest place to name the page, and it's really quite amazing, is all you have to do is click up here at the top of this white page and give it a name. So this could be my cheat notes. and all of a sudden I've named my page. So this is just a little white page that I can name, and you'll notice what's wonderful about OneNote, it automatically has a date, time on it, and this is what we call a stamp, and you can create your own stamp, but as soon as you create a page, it automatically has a stamp on it, letting you know when the page was created. So if you're sharing this notebook with your coworkers, they'll know exactly what's going on, okay? If you'd like to add another page, if you look to the right of my screen, it says New Page with a down arrow. So if I hit the down arrow, you can see I can do a new page, which has my very favorite shortcut, Control-N, which is the same across all Microsoft programs, or a new subpage, which is obviously a subpage of that sheet note if I wanted to create one. You're also going to notice a wonderful feature that Microsoft gives to its users is page templates. And page templates are preset templates that you can actually choose from that you can use because you're using OneNote. And you can see there's business, there are different categories. And a perfect example is project overview or meeting notes. Any of these are available to you. So if I choose one of these, it'll create a template right on my page. Okay? So it's very, very easy to add one of their templates or one of your own pages. So if I wanted to use a template, there it is. A new page, there it is. Okay? And again, if I add another page, I can call this, Project Part 1. Okay? So you can see that in this binder, I have 2 tabs, which are sections, and in those sections, I have my pages. Now, let's talk about what you can do with those pages. On these pages, if you notice, anywhere I click, I can actually type. So it's like a little quick brainstorming scrapbook. So as I start typing, let's say on my notes, saying, this is part 1 of the project, you can see that automatically it's putting the information in. Now this particular little part that I'm typing in can be moved around the screen. Okay, so it's a little brainstorming piece of text that I've just typed in. Now OneNote is wonderful to use if you're working in meetings or if you're in a training session and you want to make notes to yourself. You can type anywhere you like across the pages. And if you look across the top here on our little ribbon, and this is called a ribbon in the Microsoft 2010 environment, you will notice some tabs across the top. And as you look through the tabs, right now I'm on the Home tab, and there's different features on the Home tab, of course the formatting, but one of the features that OneNote has is something called tags. So as you're making your little notes, you can add a tag to them. For instance, if you have a to-do, that's a note that you wrote in, or it's important, or a question you need to ask of your coworker or whoever is running the meeting, let's say, you can actually click on one of these tags and they appear to the left of that text. As I'm typing and I hit enter, let's say I have to say bring items to meeting, and I can create a to-do tag, which allows me to actually put a check mark in it. So it's very interactive. So as I go, I can be typing, creating little tags, and these tags can be customized to your needs. Meaning, if you look at the bottom, it says customized tag, you can create your own custom tag or rename one of these. And if I click on custom tag, you can see in here that I can create a new tag or modify an existing one. So this way, the tags will make sense to whatever you need at work. Okay? Okay, there's some questions coming in, so we will look at them in a little while unless Laura can see them or answer them. Okay? The other thing with tags that you can do is you can find tags. And find tags means a panel appears on the right. So if you have a large book and you have a bunch of tags in it, like question marks or to-dos, you can search these tags depending what you're looking for. Okay, so you can see I have two types of tags. Now at the bottom you can see I can search this notebook. If I hit the down arrow, I can search a specific, all notebooks that are open or a specific page. But right now I'm just working with this notebook. So I can search that notebook for any of these tags if I need to see what all my to-dos were or all the questions I had. The other thing that's great with the tags is you can do something called create a summary page. And if I click on create a summary page, it will create a page on the right that says question, and it brought up all my tags on one summary page. So the tags are quite interactive for our combinations of all our information that we are looking for, or questions, or to-do lists, okay? So that's one wonderful thing about tags. Now, if I continue on this page, just for a minute, I'm going to move over to the Insert tab. Now, the Insert tab is my favorite tab. Actually, OneNote is one of my favorite programs, but the Insert tab is one of my favorite tabs. Why? Because while we're on the Insert tab, I can insert a whole bunch of information on my page. One of the things that I love is the timestamp, date, time, and date and time. That means if you're writing or you're importing information, you can very quickly put a date and time to that information. So if I had this question set up as a tag, and I'd like to put the date and time that I put that question in, I could have a tag, a date and time stamp instantly. So I'm always aware as to when I was looking at this information. Again, I'm going to remind everybody that this is being saved as I go. Okay? So I do not have to worry about saving, which is fantastic. Now, while I'm in this Insert tab, you're going to see that we can insert a few different items onto our sheets. Okay? So the reason I say sheet is, to me, this piece of paper is really like a blank sheet of paper that you can do all your scrapbooking on, notes, and import information. Now, when I say import information, you can import emails, tasks if you're an Outlook user. You can import Excel spreadsheets. You can import Word documents. And you can make yourself your big project file of all the information so it's organized. So for instance, if I wanted to go and do an attached file, I could click on attach file and it will take me into my documents or my drives where I can go and see if I have a picture or a file or anything I'd like to put in here. Now right now I don't have too many, obviously I don't have any documents on this particular machine, but I could bring in any kind of sample music or pictures that will bring up anything I want and put in the actual attached file as an icon. So if it's a Word document, you're going to see the Word icon. If it's an Excel document, you're going to see Excel. Now what this really is a hyperlink to the original. So when I point to it, it tells me where it's coming from. And so if I click on it and open it, it will actually open the file. So one thing I can do, which is wonderful, is insert the actual file as an icon, organize it, and keep them very organized if I'm working on specific reports with this project that I'm working on in this binder. The other item you can do is a file printout. Now, file printout prints the physical file out onto the screen, okay? So right now, if I had a Microsoft Word document and I saved it, right, and I called it test, I'm not being very creative today. When I go back into my OneNote and I say File Printout, I can go under Documents, find my test file, and insert it. And it physically, if you notice, is taking a few seconds. Now, what it's doing is it's printing out the whole file with the location and the little icon. Now, the one neat thing here is that even if you don't want the file printout, you can always delete by hitting the delete key on the keyboard if you don't want the file, if you decide you don't want the file, but you still are left with this lovely little icon, which again, if you double click on, takes you, let's ask it not to show this again because it keeps bringing up. It takes you right to Microsoft Word and to the document, which I think is brilliant, a tremendous time saver. And you can see how I'm nicely organizing all my information into my notes page. Okay? Now, so attach file just brings out the icon itself with a hyperlink. The file printout will print out the whole physical file on the screen. You even have the ability to do a scanner printout, which will take, if you have that ability with your scanner, which will scan in documentation in here. Okay? You'll also notice the abilities to record audio or video if you need to. Some people do it when they're in meetings. Some people do it if they're talking about a project for whatever reason. So everything in here is available to you. You can even create tables right on your OneNote screen. But there's a little trick that I show people, and I love to do this because I love shortcuts. If you hit the tab key on your keyboard, okay, when you're typing, if the tab key, it automatically creates a table for you, which is a quick shortcut. Instead of going in here and saying table, and you can insert a table this way, but if I start typing tabs, it automatically creates a table. So OneNote actually uses a little bit of Microsoft Word tabling feature and has its own table feature under Inserts. The other thing, the item you can do that a lot of people aren't aware of is you can take numbers and use plus or minus and hit enter. Well, usually, if it works. Well, it won't do it. It's not working for me today. Yeah, it should, but it doesn't want to do it. And it doesn't want to do it today, ladies and gentlemen. It's being a stickler. But usually it will, because it won't do it today. But yours will work. When you hit 20 plus 50, it will give you an answer. So you'll have to forgive my program here. It doesn't want to work. So we're just going to delete that right now for a minute. But that's just a little quick tip and trick that is possible for you. Okay? So a few things that you can put in on the screen if you like. One other item is your screen clipping. The screen clipping is a beautiful feature that came into play in 2010. The screen clipping will actually jump back to the last program that you were looking at, which is my WebEx in this case, go light gray, and allow me to cut out a piece of the screen and bring it right in to my page. It also brings in all the hyperlinks with it. So you can see how interactive this program can be. Okay? So that's our Insert tab. Continuing along the Share tab, you can share your notebooks with your coworkers at any time. You can see that the Share notebook is here. Okay? Obviously, at your office, you will decide where the sharing is going to be, and you can also share online if you have that capability. Now, when I go over to the Draw tab, I don't know, not as many people use the drawing, and you do have to have a very, very steady hand if you're going to use one of these guys and start writing. Okay? So you can see if you have a really steady hand, you can actually make notes. Now, the one thing I do like in here is to use the highlighter, because in here, with highlighting, you can always highlight items that you're working with. Okay? So you can see, yeah, it is a lot of fun to use. I mean, it sounds crazy that a program is going to be fun, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to click back on the select and type, and then my mouse is back to the way it was. Okay? So again, right now I've been working strictly on this particular page. At any time, I could go to any of my pages, like cheat notes or meeting title, which was my little template that I brought up. But I'm going to click on cheat notes so I can have a little bit of a cleaner page. Now, I'm just going to go back to the file, which is called our Backstage button. Okay, and you can see that in here, this is where I created my new workbook. There's a lot of other features in here. Of course, our sharing is in here as well. You can also see that the project team notebook and the personal notebook that comes with OneNote is showing up in here. And I can share it at any time. And there's also settings for this notebook. So in here is where you can close your notebook very quickly, or share it, or even look at the properties of the notebook. Some of the properties are that, well, the display name, which you can choose to change here or right into where your notebook is. You can change the location of where you want your OneNote notebooks to be saved, because they will, as I mentioned earlier, by default go to a OneNote notebooks folder, but you can decide where you want to save it. Okay? You also can decide, if you don't like the turquoise color or the blue color, to change any of the colors in here. So the properties in the notebooks are available to you. So you can do a little bit of customization if you like. Again, it took me out of file. We will go back in here, and you can see that I can decide what I want to do with it. You can save it. As I mentioned earlier, it can be saved. Now that I've shown you pages, sections, and notebooks, if you want to save just a page, let's say you want to email out or save just a page, you can save that. If you just want to save a section, you can save that. Notebook, again, saves it. And again, you can save it as in OneNote, a PDF. Now, XPS is a Microsoft version of PDF. Not everybody likes to use XPS because maybe the individual does not have a Microsoft program, so it's best to keep it either as PDF or OneNote. Okay? The other item you can do is send. Now, this is great because you can take this notebook and you can send it as an email, as an attachment, as a PDF, or you can even send the notebook to Word, where you can manipulate it further, because if you take this and send it off to Microsoft Word, you're exporting it out to Word, where you can get more capability of Word's editing features. Okay, so there's a few different items you can do. And notice the current pages we're working on right now is cheat notes. The print, obviously, your print preview. So all the features you need are in here. The other item is in here is options. Now, options is where you can customize your whole OneNote environment. You can customize your toolbars and your ribbons, okay? And you can set up all the different displays and bits and pieces that you may want to look at when you have some time to decide how you want to approach your OneNote program. Generically, most people leave it as is. The only thing they like to change is maybe the colors or the location as to where it's being saved. Okay? Now, the other item. I'm going to go back to the Home tab for a minute. You're going to notice that this particular program interacts with Outlook. It goes hand in hand with Outlook. Now, not everybody uses Microsoft Outlook. Some people use Lotus Notes. This particular program speaks beautifully to OneNote, to Outlook. Unfortunately, right now, if I go to my Outlook, just say yes to that, and yes to that again, the OneNote is not showing up in here. Usually, if you are a Outlook user, you will see OneNote appearing on your Home tab, which allows you to export your email messages directly to OneNote. That means that any messages, and people are always complaining, I got too many messages and my IT department is telling me to delete them. If you would like to keep something about your emails, you can actually export them out to OneNote. And like I said, you will see that OneNote icon on your ribbon. Unfortunately, I can't see it here today. It has not come up, but you can export any of the messages. The other thing to remember is if you delete your email messages from Outlook, if you delete it from here, they will still appear in your OneNote. So they do not disappear. So you actually have the attachments and everything that exists with with your email. It will appear in your OneNote binder. Okay? So that's why you can see that very quickly we have the Outlook task that we can work with. We can create flags. We can even monitor meetings that we have in our Outlook program. The other item you're going to see is you're going to notice even on the internet, when you right-click, you're going to see options called Send to OneNote. So a lot of things can be brought into OneNote. Not everything is totally interactive right now with this particular OneNote, but there's a lot OneNote can do for projects. So everything can come together very quickly into one great binder. Okay? Now, if you notice across here, if I go to my binder project team, if I right-click on this, when in doubt, right-click, and it'll always tell you some of the items you can do in here. Now, we've already talked about renaming, that we can either right-click or click on the sections to rename. We can do our Save As in here. We can also close the notebook from here. Now, in here, we also have section groups. If you decide to group some sections together, we can create a new section group. This section group can have its own sections in it that basically think of it as its own little organizer of your projects. And you can create your own groups or individual sections within a binder. And I'm always referring, you notice, to OneNote as a binder because that's exactly what it is. It's a binder program. Okay? So you can create your own section groups, or you can just stay with your tabs over here, and you're going to see how my sections are here and my section group is here. So I can always go back and forth to my groups, and you can see there's a little navigation pane that will go back and forth. Now, the other item you can do with your sections, you can drag them around, you can move anything around, and as you're adding sections, you can move them, rename them, close them, open them. They're always available to you, okay? So it works beautifully over here. The other item is if you right-click, okay, aside from, and well, if I right-click on the project team, that's the binder name. So there's certain options here, one of which is Notebook Recycle Bin, which is the way to delete your notebook, okay? Like, just to put it in here, this is the recycle bin. You cannot, when you go in here and right-click, you'll notice there's no deletion. If you close them and start deleting it, it's going to go into a notebook recycle bin. So you have to keep that in mind. If you look below and you right-click on one of the sections, you will notice that you can delete a section, okay? You can save the section here, move or copy a section, and the other item that's very important is you can password protect the section, all right? And password protecting it, if you're sharing this particular notebook with a group of people, you may want to password protect your notebook so not everything will appear to everybody, or if they want to get into it, they'll have to know the password. And it's very, very important that you don't forget your password because it's very hard to get it back if you don't know it. Okay? So you can see how you can create groups, sections, and the whole binder itself. Okay? So as we go along, we've talked a little bit about the Home tab, the insert, and the ability to insert all these features, including the tags. We can share our notebook. There's the recycle bin again. Okay, there it is again. So you can find the recycle bin. When you right-click, you can find the recycle bin on your ribbon. The draw is where we find all our little colorful and highlighters. Now, the review. There's a few things going on here. You have your spelling and research like the other programs. You also have a translation feature that comes with Microsoft 2010, which also has something called a mini translator that picks up words or languages from all over the world. And if you go to choose translation language, you can actually decide which language you can translate in here. Okay, so if we decided to go to French and click OK, and then go back to translate and turn on mini translator, and I say hello, I click off of it, when I point to it, you see how it automatically shows up. Whoops. It shows up my mini translator, it shows up my dictionary, it explains what the item is, and it even allows me to copy the word into my OneNote. And if you have the multilingual installs and you want to hear it, say it in another language like French, you would click play. In my case, when I clicked it, it just said hello because I don't have the French language installed on my computer, but in here, it automatically says hello for me. So this little mini translator is available to you. Just remember to turn it off or everything you point to will translate. You also have the ability to do translated text. If you do this, it will create a side panel which will allow you to literally translate lines of text right into OneNote. You can even go online to continue your translation. Now, all this is part of the Microsoft suite of programs, and the mini translator is part of it, and it's wonderful if you're working with different languages. As well, under the review is something called linked notes. Linked notes, if I click on them, allow you to dock part of OneNote to the right. So it literally looks like you have OneNote open twice. It also brings up a location where you want your linked notes to go. Now, right now, cheat notes are here as my page title. And this came up as well, so I could say if I wanted to go somewhere else, I'm going to leave it as cheat notes, and I'm going to click OK. And what this does for me is it actually creates hyperlinks between either here, this particular page, and my linked notes, or I can even use it with Microsoft Word. So you can bring up Microsoft Word, open it up, and do you notice how OneNote is still docked? So I can do typing in here and create a hyperlink to OneNote from here, okay? And create a hyperlink between the two. So once I create that link between the two, it's just taking a little bit of time. It's a little slow, unfortunately. Once you create the link, you're actually creating a hyperlink between this and here and this particular OneNote connection between the two. So linked notes are used a lot for when we do meetings, and we can make notes between the two. So it'll create a hyperlink if I start, okay? I can stop taking linked notes at any time, and it will turn off the link from Word to OneNote. If you're done with your linked notes, you can close them at any time, okay? But you can create the links from Word, you can create links to PowerPoint, and you can create links to Outlook, but you cannot create a link to Excel. You can bring the file in, but you cannot create a link to Excel, okay? Now the other item you're going to see, once OneNote is on your system, in the bottom right corner, you will also see a little N appearing, and this is called a side note. So when you're working, if you're not sure where you want to put your information, you can click and create a little side note. And this little side note, if we can call it test, can also have some quick little information. So you can create side notes that get saved, but you can keep them for quick little notes if you're not sure where you want to put it at that point. And automatically it had told me that I have a little side note available to me. Okay? See that? Placed in your unfiled notes. Okay? So you can see it's very, very interactive. So you have your little side notes, you have your link notes that can link to the other programs, and that's all found under our Review tab. The View tab itself will allow you to do a few more interesting things. If you're really into color, you can change the page color if you like. So it can go magenta. That's fine. Magenta's fine with me. The other item you can do is lines on your page. So let's say you're in a classroom or you're taking notes, you can create lines. And when you create lines, you can type on those lines. So it looks like that. So you can make this look exactly as a regular piece of paper. So it can be very, very interactive. So if you have a lot of typing to do, you can continue typing across and it'll look like a piece of paper. So each one of these pages can look a little bit different. My cheat notes has a little piece of paper with lines. My meeting title is my big agenda that I set up where I can type, which was from Microsoft's templates. And my project part 1 has my lovely little tags. Now, people use OneNote at work, at school, and even at home. Now, I always use it at home for all my tips and tricks on my Microsoft programs, my software programs that I teach. And I even have a binder for my recipes that I organize all my recipes. So I can put all of them in here and keep them very organized, okay? So I can have my personal information, I can have my project, and if you look to the very bottom, I also see my unfiled notes, which has my little note that I just created, test, there it is. And then there's the next one that has nothing on it. So the little unfiled notes are here. So all your little scrap notes that you needed to throw in, that you weren't sure what you wanted to do with, you could throw into your little unfiled notes, okay? And again, with any of them, you can go in and create more pages and more subpages, okay? You can zoom in and out at any time, and you can view your pieces of paper differently at any time. You can change the way you view it. Now, all this can be customized to your needs, like the rest of the Microsoft 2010 programs, okay? So just remember, under File, you do have options. So if you do decide to customize in here, you can customize your toolbar, you can add buttons that you commonly use, and it'll start working for you. Use it to your needs. Use it the way you want to use this program. Okay? So basically, again, OneNote, a scrapbooking, organizer, whatever way you want to approach it. I call it a binder with sections and pages. You can import files. You can import links. You can scan information in, you can do recordings, you can do tags. It's all searchable, it's wonderful. I think it's a fantastic program. I hope everybody ends up trying to use it sooner or later. And I think that's about all. I'll be wrapping it up at this point, and if anybody has questions, feel free to ask.